The night on Syrah 7 was colder than usual. Fierce winds howled through the jagged cliffs outside the small human colony, carrying dust and strange glowing spores from the nearby canyons. Lyra, a young mechanic with copper hair tied into a messy braid, stayed late in her workshop fixing the colony's energy generator. She had always preferred the hum of machinery over the chatter of people, but tonight something felt different. A faint, desperate cry echoed from outside, barely audible over the wind. Lyra paused, wiping grease from her hands, listening carefully. The sound came again, a high-pitched whimper, strange and almost musical. She frowned. There were no animals this far from the cliffs, at least none that humans had ever seen. Curiosity pulled her toward the colony gates. The wind slammed against her face as she stepped outside, but she pushed forward, following the soft sound. Between two jagged rocks, she saw it. A tiny creature, no larger than a child's backpack, shivered and trembled on the ground. Its scales shimmered silver under the moonlight, almost like liquid metal, and delicate wings, too small for flight, twitched helplessly. Its eyes, round and golden, looked at Lyra with a mixture of fear and hope. The creature opened its mouth and let out a soft hiss that sounded more like a question than a threat. Lyra's heart raced. She had read about dragons in ancient human myths, but everyone in the colony had dismissed them as stories. Yet here, right in front of her, was something alive, real, and fragile. "Hey there, it's okay," she whispered, kneeling carefully. The hatchling's small claws dug into the dusty ground, but it didn't run. It seemed to sense she meant no harm. She glanced around. The colony was quiet. Most people had already gone to sleep, and the harsh storms kept visitors away. She had a few minutes to act. Using the softest touch, she scooped the hatchling into her arms. It shivered violently, curling against her chest. Warmth spread from her body to the creature. She felt an unexpected surge of connection, like the hatchling recognized her in a way words could not explain. Back in her workshop, Lyra set the hatchling gently on a blanket next to the generator. She grabbed a small bowl of water and some protein paste from the supply shelf. Hesitant, she offered it. The hatchling sniffed, then nibbled carefully, its tail flicking with excitement. Lyra smiled. "You're going to be safe here. I promise." The hatchling, which she decided to name Zephyra, had more surprises. Its scales seemed to glow faintly whenever she touched it, and small sparks of static energy danced over her hands. Machines nearby buzzed softly, as if responding to the hatchling's presence. Lyra frowned and checked the generator. Nothing was broken or unusual, but the humming tone felt warmer somehow. She shook her head, trying to ignore it. Morning came too quickly. The wind had calmed, leaving an eerie quiet over the cliffs. Lyra hid Zephyra under a blanket when the colony workers came to inspect the generator. Most people didn't notice the small creature at first, and those who did recoiled in fear. "Is that a dragon?" asked Talon, the colony's head engineer, his face pale. "I think it's a hatchling," Lyra said, her voice firm. "I found it last night. It needs care." The others exchanged worried glances. "Dragons are dangerous," one muttered. "They could bring trouble here." Lyra shook her head. "Not this one. Look at it. It's scared, weak, it won't hurt anyone if we help it." Some colonists still murmured about old legends of dragons destroying entire fleets or laying waste to worlds, but Lyra didn't care. She saw something in Zephyra that reminded her of the colony itself, small, fragile, but full of potential. Over the next few days, Zephyra grew quickly. Its wings stretched longer, and the scales became brighter, reflecting sunlight like mirrors. Lyra spent hours with the hatchling, teaching it to drink from a bowl, to balance on small perches, and to trust humans. Zephyra's eyes followed her everywhere, filled with curiosity and intelligence. It seemed to understand more than any normal animal should. One evening, as Lyra worked on a damaged hover drone, Zephyra climbed onto the workbench. With a cautious flick of its tail, it touched the drone. Sparks ran along its scales, and the drone powered up instantly, humming smoothly. Lyra's jaw dropped. "You did that," she whispered. Zephyra blinked slowly, then curled against her shoulder, as if proud. Word of the hatchling's strange ability spread quickly. Some colonists became fascinated, while others grew fearful. Scouts reported unusual energy readings around the cliffs where Zephyra liked to play. Rumors whispered that dragons might not be extinct, that they were creatures of incredible power left behind by humans long ago. That night, the wind howled again, but Zephyra did not shiver. It stretched its wings in the moonlight, small but strong, and let out a soft roar that rolled like distant thunder. Lyra stood beside it, feeling a mix of awe and worry. The colony was safe for now, but she could sense that this tiny hatchling, so fragile and small, held secrets that could change everything humans thought they knew about the stars. As Lyra watched Zephyra curl against her chest, she whispered, "I don't know what you are, little one, but I think you're going to show the galaxy something it has never seen before." And for the first time, the cliffs of Syrah 7 felt alive, as if the wind itself carried a warning and a promise. The hatchling was only the beginning, and the skies would never be the same again. The mornings on Syrah 7 were bright and harsh, the twin suns burning the jagged cliffs gold and orange. Zephyra had grown much since she was found. Her wings, now long and strong, caught the wind as easily as a sail on a ship. Lyra watched her from the edge of the cliffs, her heart pounding with excitement and worry. Today would be Zephyra's first real flight. Lyra had built a small platform at the cliff's edge, using metal scraps and parts from old hover drones. She placed Zephyra on it and knelt beside her. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. Zephyra tilted her head and spread her wings, the silver scales catching the sunlight, sparkling like mirrors. The hatchling seemed eager, not scared. Lyra's stomach tightened. She stepped back and waved gently. Zephyra crouched, then leapt into the air. For a moment, she wobbled, her wings flapping awkwardly. Then a strong gust of wind lifted her higher, and she glided over the cliffs with surprising grace. Lyra gasped. She had never imagined a creature so young could move like that. Zephyra's eyes glimmered with joy, and she let out a small roar that echoed across the valleys below. The colonists gathered at a safe distance, watching in awe. Some whispered that dragons were only myths, but here one flew before them, alive and brilliant. A few older engineers frowned, worried about what such a creature could bring. But most people could not hide their fascination. Zephyra circled above the cliffs, dipping and climbing, showing off her growing strength. Lyra climbed into her hovercraft, small and nimble, and followed Zephyra as she glided through the air. She had modified the craft to keep up, adding extra thrusters and reinforced wings. The pair became a strange team, human and dragon, weaving through the rocky canyons together. Zephyra responded to Lyra's hand signals and soft calls, dodging obstacles with skill. The bond between them deepened with every beat of her wings. As the day went on, Zephyra began testing her powers in ways Lyra had not expected. She could create sudden gusts of wind, strong enough to move boulders or clear debris. Small machines near the cliffs hummed or sputtered as if reacting to her presence. Lyra realized that Zephyra was not only strong, but intelligent in ways that went beyond instinct. Trouble arrived unexpectedly. A small human faction, led by a man named Varric, had been scouting the area. They were wary of dragons, believing them to be dangerous weapons. Seeing Zephyra fly, they quickly deployed energy nets and stun darts, hoping to capture her. Zephyra screeched, twisting in the air as the nets shot toward her. Lyra shouted warnings, guiding her with hand gestures. Zephyra dodged the first net, then the second. Her wings beat faster, sending strong currents of air that blew the nets away. Varric's team stumbled as the wind tore at their equipment. Lyra grinned despite the tension. They had underestimated the dragon, and underestimated humans working with her. Zephyra finally swooped close to the cliffs, landing with a soft thud next to Lyra. Her eyes were wide, almost proud, as if saying, "Did you see that?" Lyra laughed nervously, patting her head. "You're amazing," she said. The colonists, who had been hiding behind rocks, began to cheer. Fear was replaced by admiration. Even Varric looked stunned. Over the next few days, the colony learned to work with Zephyra. She became a guardian, not just a pet. She helped lift fallen rocks, clear storm damage, and even assisted Lyra in repairing hover drones. Her intelligence amazed everyone. She understood simple tools and gestures, often picking up small parts and carrying them to Lyra without being told. One evening, as the sun set behind the cliffs, painting the sky in pink and gold, Zephyra climbed to the top of a rocky spire and stretched her wings wide. Lyra joined her, leaning on the edge, feeling the wind whip past them. "You could touch the stars someday," she whispered. Zephyra tilted her head, almost understanding the meaning. Then she leapt, flying higher than ever before, disappearing into the fading light before returning to circle above the colony. But the colony was not completely safe. Scouts reported unusual energy readings in the upper atmosphere, strange signals that seemed to follow Zephyra. It was as if the galaxy itself had noticed her. Lyra frowned, realizing that her little dragon was drawing attention from places far beyond Syrah 7. If anyone came to claim Zephyra, the humans would need to act fast, and they might not be ready for what was coming. Still, the people of the colony could not deny the wonder they saw. Zephyra was unlike anything they had known. Not just a creature of strength, but one that trusted them, learned from them, and seemed to share their sense of purpose. Even the skeptics began to accept that this dragon was not a threat, but a gift, something that could protect them, teach them, and inspire them. That night, as the stars blinked over the cliffs, Zephyra rested on a rock beside Lyra. She had grown larger than when they found her, her scales reflecting the starlight. Lyra stroked her head, thinking of the future. The hatchling had already changed the colony in ways no one expected. Her flight had shown them possibilities they had never dared imagine. And high above, the wind carried a quiet, powerful message. Zephyra was not just a dragon. She was a force, a protector, and a friend. She would grow stronger, soar higher, and perhaps one day touch the stars themselves. The colony slept beneath the twin moons, unaware that the first threads of adventure, danger, and glory were already weaving into their lives. Zephyra had wings that could carry her anywhere, but she had chosen to stay, and for humans who had learned to care for her, that was more than enough. Weeks passed, and Zephyra grew larger, her wingspan stretching wide enough to cast shadows over the colony. The humans had grown used to her presence, but whispers of the hatchling's true power spread among them. Strange energy readings followed her wherever she flew, and even simple machines seemed to respond to her. Lyra watched her friend closely, noticing a kind of intelligence in her golden eyes that went beyond instinct. One evening, a strange ship appeared on the horizon. It was old, worn, and unlike the sleek vessels the colony had seen before. It hovered silently above the cliffs, sending a quiet pulse through the air. Lyra felt a shiver. The ship's energy signature was similar to the signals that had followed Zephyra. Whoever was inside knew about her. A figure stepped out from the ship, moving with calm authority. He was older, with silver hair streaked with black, wearing a uniform that looked ancient but strong. "I am Kalin," he said in a deep, calm voice. "I have traveled many worlds, seeking what remains of the dragon line. And this one," he pointed to Zephyra, "is very special." The colony people crowded near, curious and fearful. "What do you mean?" "She's just a hatchling," one of the engineers called. Kalin shook his head. "She is more than a hatchling. Dragons like her were created by humans long ago, during the first galactic wars. We engineered them to guard the skies, protect worlds, and carry intelligence far beyond ordinary creatures. Zephyra is a survivor of that age, a link to powers you have forgotten." Lyra stepped forward, protective. "So you want to take her? She's part of this colony now. She trusts us." Kalin studied her carefully, as if weighing her words. "I do not wish to harm her. But others may. That is why I came. There are forces in the galaxy that would enslave dragons, use their power as weapons. She must be protected, and she can teach humans much if treated with care." The humans murmured among themselves. Fear mixed with fascination. They had always thought dragons were stories, or dangerous beasts at best. Now, they faced the reality that their small colony had a creature capable of extraordinary things. Over the next days, Kalin shared what he knew. Dragons like Zephyra had been bred with human intelligence in mind. They could understand complex instructions, communicate in subtle ways, and even manipulate energy around them. Humans had created them as partners and guardians, not slaves. But over centuries, dragons disappeared. Most planets forgot the stories, calling them myths. Zephyra was one of the last. Zephyra listened closely, watching Kalin as he spoke. When he explained that she could sense energy currents across worlds, her eyes sparkled. She tilted her head as if understanding parts of his words. Lyra noticed that the hatchling was learning quickly, connecting ideas with experiences in ways no ordinary animal could. Trouble came faster than expected. Scouts from a galactic patrol fleet appeared above the cliffs. They had detected Zephyra's unusual energy signature and assumed she was a threat. The humans were outnumbered, and their colony ships were not built for battle. Lyra looked at Zephyra. The hatchling's wings flared, and she stretched them wide, ready to face the approaching danger. The fleet sent a warning first, demanding the humans surrender Zephyra. They threatened to take her by force, to capture her for study. Lyra's heart pounded, but she did not back down. "She belongs here," she said. "And we will not let you hurt her." Zephyra leapt into the air, twisting and dodging the first patrol drones. She moved with intelligence, anticipating the machine's paths and using bursts of wind to push them off balance. Lyra followed in her hovercraft, guiding the colony's defenses. Humans set up decoys and traps, using the cliffs and rocky canyons to their advantage. Even with limited technology, their strategy worked. The patrol drones faltered, some crashing into the cliffs, others retreating in confusion. Kalen watched quietly, nodding at the humans. Your courage and quick thinking are impressive, he said. Most humans would panic, but you adapt. You work with her, not just fight alongside her. That is why dragons like Zephyra survived in the first place. They trusted humans who could think and act for themselves. Zephyra landed beside Lyra after the skirmish, her wings folded neatly but trembling slightly with excitement. Lyra patted her head, whispering, "We did it. You're safe, for now." Zephyra purred softly, the vibration traveling through Lyra's hands. It was a sound of trust and understanding. By nightfall, the colony was quiet again. Fires glowed in the workshops, and the twin moons cast silver light over the cliffs. Lyra and Kalen stood near Zephyra, watching her rest. "She is remarkable," Kalen said. "And the galaxy will notice her soon. If others come looking, you must be ready." Lyra nodded, thinking of everything that had happened. Zephyra was not just a hatchling anymore. She was a link to an ancient past, a being of immense power and intelligence. And humans, even a small colony, could teach her, guide her, and protect her. As the night deepened, Zephyra's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She curled beside Lyra, as if she understood the danger but trusted the humans who had saved her. The wind carried whispers through the cliffs, hints of the adventures to come and the secrets the dragon skies still held. For the first time, Lyra understood that her small colony was part of something much larger. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but here on Syrah 7, humans had raised a creature capable of shaping the skies themselves. Zephyra was not just a dragon. She was history, power, and promise all in one shimmering, silver form. And as Lyra watched the stars above, she knew that what humans and dragons could achieve together would astonish the universe. The secrets of the skies were awakening, and Zephyra, with her wings and her trust, would lead the way. The skies above Syrah 7 had never been so tense. The twin suns burned bright, but the horizon held a strange gray glow. Scouts returning from the cliffs brought alarming news. A massive fleet from the Galactic Council had detected Zephyra's energy signature. They were not curious observers, they were coming to claim her, and they would not leave peacefully. Lyra stood at the edge of the cliffs, watching Zephyra stretch her silver wings. The dragon's eyes reflected both excitement and understanding, as if she sensed the danger coming. The colony had grown used to small skirmishes before, but this fleet was different. Hundreds of ships, sleek and armed, hovered just above the atmosphere. They were precise, disciplined, and determined. Kalen arrived from his ship, landing smoothly beside Lyra. His expression was serious. They will try to take her. Their goal is to use dragons as weapons. Humans have not raised one this powerful in centuries. You must prepare. Lyra nodded, glancing at the colony. She had no army, no fleet capable of matching the invaders. But she did have Zephyra, and she had something else humans were known for, ingenuity. "We'll fight smart, not just with force," she said. The colony immediately sprang into action. Engineers reinforced the cliffs with energy barriers, disguised traps in the canyons, and rigged drones with decoys to confuse the fleet. Lyra and a small team worked on modifying hovercrafts to keep up with Zephyra in the air. Every human was involved, every mind focused. They knew brute force could not win, they had to outthink the enemy. Zephyra rose into the sky, her wings cutting through clouds, golden eyes scanning the incoming ships. She let out a roar that echoed across the cliffs, stirring the wind into a spiraling force. The first ships approached, their weapons ready, but Zephyra's wings stirred sudden gusts strong enough to push the smaller craft off course. Lyra guided the hovercrafts, coordinating the humans' traps. Rocks toppled, energy nets entangled drones, and lasers misfired from the confusion. The fleet's commander, a tall alien with glowing blue eyes, called over the communication channel. "Release the dragon. She is property of the Galactic Council." Lyra responded, her voice steady. "She is not property. She is alive, she is free, and she will not be taken." Zephyra spiraled higher, her silver scales reflecting the sun's. She dived toward the fleet, using precise bursts of wind to disable energy weapons without harming humans. Her intelligence amazed the humans watching. She was not simply reacting, she was thinking, planning, cooperating with them. The battle continued for hours. The humans were outnumbered, but Zephyra's power and their strategies kept them alive. Drones crashed into cliffs, ships collided with one another, and the fleet began to pull back, confused and frustrated. Lyra felt adrenaline and fear mixed together as she directed her team from her hovercraft. Every move required focus, every command mattered. Finally, the fleet retreated beyond the horizon, leaving only distant echoes in the skies. The colony was exhausted but victorious. Zephyra landed beside Lyra, her wings folding with a satisfied, almost proud gesture. She purred softly, leaning into Lyra's shoulder. Humans gathered around, cheering, but also exhausted, realizing how close they had come to losing her. Kaelin approached, nodding in approval. You did well. Most humans would have panicked. You adapted, you learned, and you fought alongside her. That is why dragons survived before. They trusted humans who could think, who could act with courage. Lyra looked at Zephyra, brushing dust from her scales. We couldn't have done it without her, she said softly. Zephyra blinked slowly, as if acknowledging the words, and nuzzled her hand. That night, the colony held a quiet celebration. Fires burned in workshops, and humans shared food and stories, but the air was still tense. The fleet would return if they had not learned their lesson, and other forces in the galaxy would surely take notice of Zephyra's power. Humans and dragons alike understood that the days ahead would be more dangerous, yet filled with possibility. Zephyra curled atop a high cliff, watching the stars. Her mind, sharp and aware, seemed to reach beyond Syrah 7, sensing the galaxy in ways humans could only imagine. Lyra joined her, feeling the wind whip past as the dragon's silver wings shimmered under moonlight. They'll come again, Lyra said quietly. But we'll be ready. Together. Zephyra let out a soft, melodic roar, like a promise. Humans had taught her trust, cooperation, and patience, while she had shown them courage, strength, and intelligence beyond their imagining. They were partners now, not master and creature, but allies facing a universe that was bigger and more dangerous than anyone had thought. The twin moons rose over the cliffs, casting long shadows. Zephyra flexed her wings and lifted into the sky, circling the colony once, then twice, before gliding into the distance. Humans watched in awe, knowing their small colony had changed. They had faced a fleet, fought with their minds, and relied on a dragon hatchling who could rule the skies if she chose. Lyra whispered to herself, the galaxy is watching, and we will show them what humans and dragons can do together. Above the cliffs, Zephyra's silver wings caught the moonlight, glowing like a beacon. The wind carried her soft roar across the valleys, announcing to the stars that a new force had risen. She was not just a dragon. She was a guardian, a leader, and a symbol of what humans could accomplish. And as the colony slept, safe for now, the first hints of future battles stirred in the distant galaxy. Zephyra's power, combined with human ingenuity, would challenge anyone who underestimated them. The storm had passed for the moment, but the adventures, and the dangers, were only beginning. The mornings on Syrah 7 were calm again, though the air still carried a sense of change. Zephyra rested on a high cliff, her silver wings folded neatly, eyes scanning the horizon. The battles were over for now, but the humans knew the galaxy was watching. Lyra stood beside her, brushing dust from the dragon's shimmering scales. She felt a deep pride and a quiet awe. Zephyra had grown into more than a hatchling. She was strong, intelligent, and wise beyond her years. Life in the colony had changed. Humans had learned to work with Zephyra, not just care for her. She helped with heavy construction, lifting materials that machines struggled with. She scouted the cliffs for danger, sensing shifts in wind and energy that humans could not. Her presence made the colony safer and more confident. Yet the greatest change was in understanding. Humans saw that power alone was not enough. Intelligence, loyalty, and cooperation mattered most. Zephyra had taught them this lesson, and they had returned it in trust and care. One day, a scout returned from the edge of the territory with a signal. The galaxy had begun sending envoys, curious about the dragon and the humans who defended her. Some envoys were cautious, others wary, but all were astonished when they saw Zephyra glide across the sky with perfect grace. She moved like a creature born to rule the clouds, yet never once harmed the humans. Lyra approached the visitors, introducing them carefully. She is not a weapon. She is alive, she learns, and she trusts humans who respect her. She is part of our colony, part of our lives. The envoys watched Zephyra closely. One of them, a tall being with translucent skin and many eyes, stepped forward. In all the galaxy, humans have never raised a dragon with such care. You teach her restraint, and she teaches you strength. It is rare to see such a bond. Zephyra responded subtly, extending her wings and letting out a melodic roar. It was not a challenge but a greeting, a signal of trust. Humans watched, hearts filled with wonder. Even a creature of immense power could choose compassion when guided by respect and loyalty. Days passed, and the colony thrived under Zephyra's watch. Lyra often sat with her on the cliffs, speaking softly, telling stories of human history, of stars traveled, of worlds dreamed of. Zephyra listened, tilting her head, her eyes glowing faintly with understanding. The bond between them deepened. Lyra realized that humans were teaching Zephyra more than survival, they were teaching her patience, strategy, and empathy. Other dragons, it seemed, might exist in distant parts of the galaxy, but none had grown alongside humans in this way. The galaxy would soon learn that dragons could be more than rulers of skies, they could be partners, allies, and friends. And humans, small and fragile compared to the vast universe, could teach even the strongest beings lessons about loyalty, courage, and understanding. One evening, Lyra watched Zephyra soar above the twin moons, wings outstretched, scales shimmering silver in the light. She landed beside her, resting her hand on the dragon's warm neck. "You've learned much, little one," Lyra whispered. Zephyra blinked slowly, nudging her hand with her snout. It was as if she understood every word. The colony gathered below the cliffs, celebrating their new life. They no longer feared Zephyra, nor did they see her as a tool or weapon. She had become a symbol, proof that humans could nurture, guide, and inspire beings far stronger than themselves. And the dragon, in turn, inspired humans to believe in courage, ingenuity, and hope. Kaelin returned to visit, watching quietly as Zephyra glided among the cliffs. "She has chosen well," he said softly. "She trusts humans because they earned it, not because they commanded it. That is something even dragons need to learn." Zephyra circled above, then landed beside Lyra. Together, they looked out at the horizon, where stars twinkled faintly. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and mysteries, but humans and dragons had discovered something stronger than fear, trust and partnership. Weeks later, a quiet signal traveled through distant star systems. Whispers began to spread among explorers and envoys. Humans had raised a dragon, not as a weapon, but as a companion and protector. Other species took notice, surprised that a small, fragile race could guide such a powerful creature. The lesson was clear: strength without wisdom was dangerous, but wisdom guided by care could change even the most powerful beings. Zephyra roared softly, a sound that carried across the cliffs and into the valleys below. It was a song of freedom, of loyalty, and of promise. Humans, standing with her, understood that they were not just caretakers. They were teachers, allies, and friends. And together, they could face anything the galaxy might send. As night fell, the twin moons shone over Syrah 7, illuminating the cliffs and the small colony. Zephyra settled beside Lyra, curling her massive wings around her protectively. The stars seemed brighter, as if the galaxy itself acknowledged the bond between dragon and human. In the quiet, Lyra whispered, "We've learned from each other, Zephyra. You teach us strength, and we teach you care. Together, we're unstoppable." Zephyra nudged her hand, eyes shining with understanding. The future was wide, full of stars to explore, and dangers to face. But humans and dragons would face it together. And in that union, the galaxy learned a truth it had forgotten long ago. Courage, intelligence, and loyalty could come from the smallest of hands and the largest of wings. The colony slept beneath the twin moons, safe and peaceful, while Zephyra stood watch above, a dragon of silver scales and golden eyes, ruler of the skies not by fear, but by trust. And the galaxy knew that humans had taught even a dragon the greatest lesson of all, that strength was powerful, but compassion made it legendary.